By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
Captain Planet, he's our hero.
Anyone who grew up during the early 90s will instantly recognize that signature catchphrase. Captain Planet and the Planeteers, later retitled The New Adventures of Captain Planet, was a foundational part of nearly every 90s kid's childhood. For a lot of people, including yours truly, the series was their first introduction to environmentalism, with the show teaching us about different ways we, as kids, could contribute to protecting and safeguarding the environment. Now, as grown-ups, though we have since long outgrown the show, the issues it raised are still major parts of our lives. Thus, today, let's go back and explore what exactly happened to the series, and how it eventually faded from public consciousness.
Thanks, Planeteers!
Go Planet!
What is Captain Planet and the Planeteers? Before we get too deeply into Captain Planet's history, why don't we have a quick refresher on the show itself? First airing in September 1990, Captain Planet and the Planeteers followed the exploits of 5 children from across the planet, all selected by Gaia, the spirit of Earth, to protect humanity and the planet itself from environmental disasters and pollution. Gaia, based on the Greek personification of the Earth, had been asleep for most of the 20th century. She woke up near its end, shocked by how humans had treated their planet, and guided the children as much as she could to help save it. Each child was given a magic ring corresponding to a natural element. Kwame from Africa was given the Earth Ring. Wheeler from North America had the Fire Ring. Linka from the Soviet Union, which was later changed to Eastern Europe, was given the Wind Ring. Guy from Asia received the Water Ring, and finally, Ma Ti from South America received the Heart Ring. Together, the children could use those planetary powers and, in times of need, combine them to summon Captain Planet, a humanoid superhero created through the combined and magnified powers of all 5 rings. He could use the planetary powers to combat pollution and ecological disasters. Captain Planet possessed green hair, which represented his connection to the greenery of nature, as well as blue skin that reflected the blue skies and oceans of the world. He was a true champion of planet Earth. They were up against the evil forces of the eco-villains, a group of dangerous figures who represented the different ways in which humanity destroys the environment, including pollution, deforestation, and poaching. Many of these eco-villains were motivated by greed, power, or a complete disregard for nature, although they were not all wealthy business people or corporate executives. Other villains Captain Planet faced included Zarm, a rival planetary spirit to Gaia who represented war and destruction. The character was so evil that even the regular eco-villains were frightened of him. The series is famous, or infamous depending on how you look at it, for how heavily it revolved around educating children about environmental issues and the often ham-fisted, on-the-nose methods through which this awareness was raised. The series taught children about personal responsibility. Instead of exploring all the social, political, and economic factors behind environmental damage and pollution, it often focused on what individuals could do to help prevent it. The characters regularly turned to the children watching at home and directly explained the important lesson they had learned from the episode. While critics claim this gave viewers the wrong idea about what causes environmental damage, it is important to remember that the target audience of the show was children. The show made environmental pollution understandable to younger viewers, while also presenting simple steps that could be taken to prevent and combat it. As Barbara Pyle explained about the decision to make the villains ridiculously over-the-top caricatures, "That's one of the reasons we made the bad guys and their plans so ridiculous. We tried to point the finger at behaviors rather than industries. That way no child would go home and say, 'Oh, Daddy, you're in a blah blah business.' It would be horrible for some child to see their family member as a Captain Planet villain." Even the title character, Captain Planet, is not an independent superhero. He can only be summoned through the combined powers of the child protagonists. It is their cooperation that allows them to defeat nefarious foes such as Duke Nukem, Hoggish Greedily, and Captain Planet's evil counterpart, Captain Pollution. By instilling these values in children at a young age, the creators hope to make younger generations more responsible in the way they treated the environment, and to help them understand how the environment affected their daily lives. As executive producer Barbara Pyle said, "Our mission was to inspire and to educate the next generation of environmental activists." The series also addressed issues children faced, such as bullying, which were generally handled in a sensitive and responsible manner. The international cast of characters also underscored the importance of humanity uniting, regardless of race or creed, to safeguard nature and the planet we call home. As LeVar Burton, the opening narrator for the first 3 seasons and the voice of Kwame, put it, "It's not, I'm a superhero. It's like I have my own individual contribution, and I put that together with the others. Then we have something that is larger than myself." Ma-Ti, who possessed the power of heart, was emblematic of this. The power of heart allowed the main characters to find empathy and understanding for others, and it was crucial when they summoned Captain Planet. More than the other powers, it was this heart that made the Planeteers such good protectors of Mother Nature. This focus on educating children and raising awareness about environmentalism was not typical of Saturday morning cartoons of the era. To understand what made Captain Planet so unique as an animated series, we must first learn about the people who created it.
What kind of cold-hearted beast imprisons pet?
Ted Turner's environmental vision. Ted Turner is a media mogul who became famous for his contributions to network television. Among other things, he founded the news network CNN and later launched Cartoon Network through Turner Broadcasting. Both networks continue to operate today. But perhaps even more than his contributions to television, he is known for his political activism and environmentalism. In 1990, he established the Turner Foundation to support environmental causes across the globe. In 1997, he pledged approximately $1 billion to support the United Nations, which led to the creation of what is now known as the United Nations Foundation. He also helped found the Nuclear Threat Initiative, an organization created to reduce threats involving nuclear and dangerous technologies. Quite simply, he cared deeply about the environment. In his own words, "I love this planet. I want to see the environment preserved, and I want to see the human race preserved. And I'd like to see everybody living decently in a more equitable, kind-hearted, thoughtful, generous world." Thus, in 1990, Turner found a way to combine his environmental interests with his work as a media mogul. With the help of environmental activists Barbara Pyle and Nick Boxer, he aimed to reach an entirely new audience through a Saturday morning cartoon that would become Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Barbara Pyle was already on Ted Turner's radar because of her work in environmental documentaries and filmmaking. Her involvement makes it clear how serious Turner was about this endeavor. Rather than producing a typical superhero cartoon, Turner brought in an environmentalist like Pyle to ensure that the series could give children insight into environmental problems and the work being done to address them. "We did our homework and the science was clear," Pyle said in an interview. "We knew there was going to come a time when it would be necessary for an entire generation, your generation, to speak with one voice on behalf of the planet. In some ways, the entire Captain Planet series was about preparing us for this moment." Pyle and Boxer were determined to create an unconventional character. Unlike typical superheroes who won through raw strength or clever thinking, Captain Planet relied on the strength of his Planeteers to save the day, emphasizing the importance of everyone's role in protecting the environment. But Pyle and Boxer did not stop there. They drew inspiration for the main characters from real people and activists who were championing environmental and humanitarian causes at the time. Wheeler, the American Planeteer, was influenced partly by Pyle's father and was intentionally portrayed as being initially ignorant of environmental issues, reflecting the attitudes of many ordinary Americans at the time. Kwame was inspired by several young African men Pyle had met during her environmental documentary filmmaking work. Linka, the Eastern European Planeteer, drew inspiration from Petra Kelly, a German Green Party politician. Guy, the Asian Planeteer, was inspired by Chi Yok Ling, a Malaysian human rights advocate. Ma-Ti, the indigenous South American Planeteer, was connected to Paulino Payakan, an indigenous Kayapo leader and a major voice in the struggle to protect the Amazon rainforest. Pyle also based many of the lessons the protagonists learned on the 1980 report, the Global 2000 Report to the President, which warned of the dangers of population growth and environmental crises that could occur by the year 2000 if they were not addressed. Pyle and her team of writers sought to simplify texts like these into easily digestible and entertaining storylines that people of all ages could enjoy. This level of attention to detail extended even to the people hired to voice the characters. Kwame, the African Planeteer, was voiced by famed actor LeVar Burton, best known to younger audiences for Reading Rainbow. Another major celebrity actor was Whoopi Goldberg as the voice of Gaia, the Earth Spirit. Tom Cruise was initially considered for the voice of Captain Planet and reportedly recorded several early episodes before leaving the production. David Coburn then re-recorded the role and became the voice of Captain Planet throughout the released series. LeVar Burton also performed the opening narration during the first 3 seasons, making him something of an ambassador for the series during its early years. Even the actors hired to play the villains were extremely famous. Some examples included Tim Curry, Jeff Goldblum, and Meg Ryan. The cast of major Hollywood actors also helped make the show appealing to adults who might have been watching alongside their children. The creators understood that parents were an important part of the audience and worked to ensure that the educational elements did not completely detract from the entertainment value of the series. Pyle and Boxer wanted the entire family to watch and learn about the environmental issues affecting the planet. The celebrity cast also demonstrated how seriously Turner regarded the project. Giving the creators the resources to secure such a cast for a Saturday morning cartoon was highly unusual. The ambitious production would eventually undergo significant changes so that the series could continue. The DiC and Hanna-Barbera divide. Under DiC Entertainment, working in collaboration with Turner Program Services, Captain Planet and the Planeteers ran for 3 seasons with a total of 65 episodes, airing between 1990 and 1992. DiC Entertainment was already known for producing classic Saturday morning cartoons such as Inspector Gadget and The Real Ghostbusters. The animation style sometimes suffered during this era, even as the actors hired to voice the characters included popular Hollywood stars. These early episodes had several problems common to animated series of the period, including inconsistent animation and on-the-nose writing that could sometimes feel more like a public service announcement than an episode of a Saturday morning cartoon. The series remained popular enough to continue, but its production changed significantly, beginning with the 4th season. Turner had acquired Hanna-Barbera Cartoons in 1991. William Hanna and Joseph Barbera had created Tom and Jerry while working at MGM before later forming Hanna-Barbera, the studio responsible for classic cartoons such as Scooby-Doo, The Flintstones, and The Jetsons. That was the kind of established animation experience Turner could now bring to his environmental project. The series continued from 1993 to 1996 under the new title, The New Adventures of Captain Planet, with a noticeable shift in direction compared to what had come before. The first major change viewers would recognize was that many of the celebrity voice actors from the previous era were replaced by professional voice actors, although the performances remained strong. Whoopi Goldberg was replaced by Margot Kidder as the voice of Gaia, while David Coburn, the voice of Captain Planet, took over the opening narration from LeVar Burton. Burton, however, continued to voice Kwame. These changes altered the production approach and may also have helped make the series more financially manageable. The animation quality noticeably improved during the later series. The decision to make Coburn the narrator in the later series also helped establish Captain Planet himself as the central voice of the series. Rather than continuing to depend so heavily on a rotating group of celebrity performers, the later production placed greater emphasis on its regular voice cast. While the star-studded cast of the original era helped the show gain attention among adults, the Hanna-Barbera era developed its own identity through a more consistent cast and a different animation style. The production even changed the opening narration to a rap performed by Fred Schneider during the final season, an attempt to connect with the youth culture of the period. Usually, these kind of drastic changes to an animated show occur when executives lose faith in the original vision and want to transform it into something more profitable. However, Captain Planet was unusual because its characters remained committed to its environmental message. The production changes were made while preserving the central purpose of the show. This new direction also saw the series adopt a more mature tone, with its stories and writing evolving to reflect ambitions beyond those of the average Saturday morning cartoon. The stories became darker, especially during the final season, which most American viewers did not get to see until nearly a decade later.
Now to take care of
An ending no one saw coming. The final episode of The New Adventures of Captain Planet does not feel as though it was written to be a grand series finale. Titled 101 Mutations, the episode dealt with some surprisingly dark material for a children's animated series. The episode followed the Planeteers as they discovered that Dr. Blight, one of the eco-villains, was operating a puppy mill, a place where puppies were being bred rapidly under poor conditions. This resulted in animals suffering from severe birth defects, with some of them dying as a result. The episode does not shy away from depicting the horrible circumstances in which these animals are forced to suffer so that humans can make a little extra money. Dr. Blight is even shown attempting to burn down the building with the dogs still inside to eliminate the evidence of her crimes. Though the episode avoids some of the most explicit language, it still depicts animal cruelty and abuse in a direct manner. It also explains how dogs are repeatedly used for breeding under abusive conditions, a sensitive topic that must be handled carefully when introduced to a younger audience. Compared to the early episodes in which the gang fought cartoonishly exaggerated villains, the misery and abuse found in the puppy mill feel chillingly realistic. Even in the ending, in which the gang manages to thwart Dr. Blight and rescue the surviving dogs, does not feel like enough of a catharsis after the horrific actions shown and described throughout the episode. For viewers in the United States, the episode remained unseen during the show's original run. However, it was not a single episode that had been individually suppressed or newly discovered. The entire 13-episode 6th season had already been broadcast in overseas markets but had not aired on American television. In 2006, Boomerang, Turner's 24-hour classic animation television network, presented all 13 episodes as the lost final season and gave them their first U.S. television broadcast. This means that 101 Mutations had already served as the final episode internationally, while American audiences did not receive it until Boomerang aired the final season in 2006. There is no reliable evidence that this particular episode was withheld specifically because of its Puppy Mill storyline. Rather, the entire final season had remained unavailable for U.S. television broadcast. Even so, the content of 101 Mutations helps explain why it has gained such a dark reputation. The series had always aimed to bring awareness to the ways humans mistreat nature for profit, and the Puppy Mill story followed that original mission in an unusually unsettling way. This was not the first time Captain Planet had been accused of dealing with themes that might be too intense for a young audience. A Formula for Hate famously dealt with HIV and AIDS, as well as the damage caused by fear, misinformation, and prejudice surrounding the disease. But 101 Mutations is still one of the darkest episodes the series ever produced, and it is a striking note on which the entire series ended.
Powers combined, I am Captain Planet!
What came next? The Captain Planet Foundation. In an interview about the production of the show, Whoopi Goldberg said, "We won't know what the outcome of this is until these kids grow up. The children who grew up watching Captain Planet now live in a world where the issues they saw Captain Planet fighting affect their own adult lives. Many of them picked up where Captain Planet left off and continued the fight against environmental pollution. It is these people who continue to uphold the legacy of Captain Planet more than any new adaptation or reboot of the property could. To support these people and their endeavors, the Captain Planet Foundation was created. First established in 1991 by Ted Turner and Barbara Pyle, the foundation provides resources and support for environmentally conscious young people. In 2002, it separated from Turner Broadcasting and became an independent public charity. Barbara Pyle also established the Barbara Pyle Foundation to support young environmental activists. Environmental issues are still affecting human lives in more ways than they did during the 90s, with climate change and global warming actively harming communities and ecosystems around the world. Yet there are still people who refuse to believe in these problems or dismiss them as a hoax. In this climate of misinformation, it is heartwarming to see how Pyle and Turner's efforts to educate children paid off through the environmental activists who continue that fight to this very day.
Power is yours!
Though the series ended on a surprisingly dark note, the way fans took the lessons they learned from the show and applied them to their own lives makes it all worthwhile. Beyond the final episode, which remained unseen on American television until 2006, the fact that some of the children who watched the show grew up to become the kind of environmentally conscious people Ted Turner and Barbara Pyle hope to inspire is exactly the kind of happy ending a series like this needs. I hope you all enjoyed the video and found it informative, although I don't want to take up too much of your time like a Planeteer Alert public service announcement. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us about your memories of growing up with Captain Planet.